Hello everyone, welcome to Groups Curriculum. This is Rahul, and this is lecture 2 in the series of lectures on disaster management. If you have not watched the first lecture, I would recommend you to go back and watch the introductory lecture on disaster management, which will be available in the playlist in the YouTube channel. Okay, so let's get started. Okay. So today we'll be discussing about earthquake. Okay. So you all know what an earthquake is like. It's the vigorous shaking of the surface of the earth, or the vigorous shaking of the earth because of some changes that are happening within the interiors of the earth. This is one of the cause. This is not the only cause. There can be activities that are happening on the surface also which can cause earthquakes, which we'll be seeing later on. Okay, so going to the definition, which is a sudden violent shaking of the ground, typically causing great destruction as a result of movements within the earth's crust or volcanic action. So as we have discussed already, it is sudden and violent shaking of the ground, typically causing great damage or destruction. This is not complete definition, okay, but you should have got the basic idea that there is a static earth and some change or some activity in the within the interior or on the surface of the earth which sends waves like there is water and there are waves. Okay, similarly in the earth also there can be very strong activity which is going on, which can send shock waves, which comes out as earthquakes. Okay, and it is result of series of earth movements brought about by a sudden release of energy during tectonic activities in the earth's crust. Okay, mainly occurs at faults and plate interaction. So let's get into some details of how earthquakes happen. Okay, and let's see if I have included no. Okay, just let us look at this. Why earthquake happens? Okay, one is fault zones. Okay, fault zones are those that are on the surface of the earth. Okay, for example, now okay, now let us take the map of India. Okay, which is not great as such. Okay, but it should serve the purpose. Okay, now earlier, like the what was the general understanding earlier is that the Himalayan region, which is very much prone to earthquakes, and the peninsular region, this entire region, which is very old and which is very stable. But recently, what is happening is that here there is Bhima River, which is a tributary of River Krishna, which is flowing through Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Karnataka and Maharashtra. So there is this Bhima uh, tributary. Here, what is happening is that very violent earthquakes are happening, which is mainly because of the plateau, which is very stable, but there are some fault regions. Faults are nothing but, if you have read in geography, faults are those uh, areas of deformities on the surface of the earth where there can be some slight interaction. Like if it is weak, it can get broken and the energy is released and it can cause earthquakes. So this is mainly related to faulting. Okay. Now plate tectonics. You should be aware of the fact that the surface of the earth, it is made up of many plates, major and minor plates. So what is happening is that if you see the interior of the earth, there is this molten region, okay, which is like liquid, and there is a solid crust, which we also call it as lithosphere, which is like the plates, they are floating on a sea of magma. These can be moving away from each other or moving towards each other, or they can be simply sliding, like they are not moving against each other or away from each other, they are just moving side by side. Okay, so when these interactions are happening, especially when the plates are converging, it can happen that the plates, they exert very much like force, which can build up over hundreds or thousands of years, and when one sudden go, like everything, there is a limit on the pressure that can be applied on the plates. When they interact very vigorously, at one point of time it can breach that limit, and the energy is released in form of a wave or earthquake. Okay, so and then it is also caused by volcanic activity. For example, this especially happens in the Pacific Ring of Fire, where in which, suppose if this is Australia and this is North America and this is South America, so this you call it as the Ring of Fire, which is very much prone to volcanic activity. Of course, there can be dual reasons. These are where converging, like plates are converging against each other, which also causes volcanic activity. When a volcano erupts, okay, which is like a little bomb, which actually can release lots of energy and cause earthquakes in this region. And sometimes what can happen is that, especially in Indonesian region, it has happened many times. Like when the volcano erupts with so much energy, it gets blown away, and the uh, Earth's surface gets displaced here, which causes the earthquake. At the same time, it can also cause tsunamis. Okay, and then there are other causes of earthquake which are human induced. Human induced, in the sense, first is blasting. Okay, blasting. What happens is when humans or man, when we try to explore for minerals, like there is a delta region, and then what they do is they simply send dynamites inside, and they cause blasting in the interior of earth, which can cause localized earthquakes. That is one. And then mine blasting, recently also in Singaradi there was one accident where lot of like gelatin sticks, they were planted and accidentally they got blown away. So that then also earthquakes can happen. And one more reason is the reservoirs. So if you know the concept of um isostasy, which is like geography option, which is out of scope for this, but you need to understand that everything on the surface, like there is a high mountain and then there is the sea. So see, these are at balance. So what happens is when a river is flowing and you construct a dam across it, you are causing imbalances. So like there is heavy weight because of water accumulation behind the dam, and it can set in pressures which can suddenly be released, or the impact can be seen somewhere else, and this causes dam induced or reservoir induced earthquakes. So these are some of the reasons why earthquakes happen. Okay, now let us see some basic terms which are related to earthquake. Okay, so hypocenter. Now just let us see. Suppose this is half of the earth. Okay, and there is this plate interaction happening and the energy got released here. So the point at which the earthquake is caused, we call it as focus or hypocenter. So it is clear, right? So the place or the point in the interior of earth where the actual earthquake is happening, we call it as hypocenter. So now what is epicenter? Epicenter is the point vertically above the hypocenter on the surface of the earth, because this is the shortest. uh, point from the interior or the hypocenter, the earthquake waves reach here fastest. So where on the surface of where the earthquake waves are first felt, we call them as epicenters. This is directly above the hypocenter. And what are foreshocks and what are aftershocks? Okay, so they are self-explanatory. Foreshock is like earthquake. It will not happen all of a sudden. Sometimes there can be warnings. Like if like if there is an 8 Richter scale earthquake, on Richter scale if it is 8, it can happen that just few days before there can be 2 or 3, so which are very mild earthquakes. These are like four shocks. Generally when four shocks happen, the earthquake warning centers, they send out the alerts to the people who are living in that region to stay safe. Okay, so these are like warnings which happen just before the actual earthquake happens. And aftershock are like when an earthquake happens, the energy entire energy is not released at one go. Like before the earth settles down, it can send out like um, very frequently. In a day there can be 2 to 3 earthquakes, and can happen for up to months also, which are not very big earthquakes. There is a danger that when big earthquake can happen, but in general there will be lot of aftershocks. Okay, and swarms, earthquake swarms are like here we see that they are mainly related to volcanic eruption, and there are very small earthquakes, like there won't be any major earthquake as such, but very small earthquakes which happen on a regular basis, mainly due to volcanic eruptions, because volcanoes, they also don't explode in one go. Like uh, some eruption will happen today, afterwards it builds up, and one suddenly one fine day there will be a big volcanic eruption. So since it is related to this activity, the earthquakes which are related to volcanic eruption also, they happen in earthquake swarms. Okay, so now this is very important for us, like which parts of India are which parts of India are vulnerable to earthquakes. Okay, so this can be asked in first prelims. Prelims mostly they will give you a region and see and ask you whether it is very much like whether it is highly vulnerable to earthquakes or whether it is stable. And in mains also they can ask you like give the um, hazard zonation of the earthquakes. Okay, so let's see in this map. So we have already discussed that the Himalayan region, it is very much vulnerable to earthquakes because they are fold mountains, and here the plate interactions are happening, and they are like weak. They have weak structure and they are continuously trying to stabilize, so energy gets released. So these dark areas, these are the most vulnerable, or zone 5. So yeah, these are very high damage risk zones, which is Bhuj. This happened in 2004, which has been upgraded to very dangerous position, and some parts of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and some parts of northern Bihar, and the entire northeast region. These are very high vulnerability or very high damage to the earthquakes, and just beyond that region, mainly because they are not structurally that weak, they don't have that frequent earthquakes, but they are also dangerous. So these are mainly in the vicinity of the high danger region. See, you just see these areas, like there is very high risk zone, and then the next zones also adjacent to that. Okay, and we, in order to map this, we also need to know the other thing, like uh, very low risk, where is very low risk, especially in the plateau region. This plateau, which is very very old, like 2.5 billion years old. It has been stable, and it doesn't have faults as such. So these are low risk regions and very low, and in the vicinity, just like here we have the very high damage risk zones, we have the high damage risk zones. Here also we have very low damage risk zone, and then adjacent to that only we have the low damage risk zone. So these, if you are able to find, if you are able to map, like when they ask you a question in group 1 exam, you just provide this map, give the very high damage risk zone and then damage risk zone, very low and then low. Okay, and the other region are like moderate damage risk zone. Like no place in India is no place in India we can say it doesn't have damage risk. Okay, every place is vulnerable except that we have very frequent earthquakes in the Himalayan region, and also as I have mentioned, you mentioned earlier, like this is the Bhima fault region, which is high damage risk zone and where a fault has been identified. Okay, so this is about regions in India, and now let us see what are the consequences. Suppose if an earthquake happens, what are the consequences or damages that happen? Which is when an earthquake strikes a region of high population density. Okay. Recently, there has been in news that Delhi, Delhi falls under high damage risk zone, and the constructions should be accordingly retrofitted. Okay, so if a earthquake happens in Delhi, which is highly possible that there will be thousands of deaths, like the death rate will be very high. Okay, and it can cause homelessness because of collapse of buildings. It can destroy transport and communications networks. Okay, so here I'll tell you an example of in Andhra Pradesh only we have the Polavaram Dam, right? Polavaram Dam. Here, what happened is they have, in order to construct the dam, okay, they have dredged this and they have poured the soil, weak soil, on the banks of the river at some distance. Okay, then what happened is there was rain and then this collapsed and they caused very high damage to the villages, because and then there if you just go back and read the news that the villages, okay, they have been cut off uh, because of earthquakes which are induced by this construction activity. The roads there got damaged, and it caused uh, problems for people to go in and out. Even for transport of machinery also it caused problems. Okay, which can damage communications network also, like the towers can get collapsed or the poles can get collapsed, which can cut off networks to that region, and it robs people of material and social gains. Like they might be having the like their homes or the equipment within them, they would lose them, and it can cause landslides. Like if there is a weak mountain or there is a block mountain, Western Ghats. So here there is weak soil. Now if there is a sudden earthquake, okay, the soil gets loosened and it can cause landslides here. Okay, and when the landslide is happening, and if there is a river in the vicinity of the mountain, and if there is a landslide, it can temporarily block the river, and the water gets piled up here. So since this is a weak dam, if there is a heavy rain or the water gets built up here, suddenly it can give in and cause flooding in the lower areas of the temporarily formed dam. Okay, and it also puts extra pressure on the economy. Like we have economy has limited resources, and suddenly if an earthquake of very huge magnitude happen, the money has to be diverted for rehabilitation and reconstruction. So in order to have these, in order to uh, use money for these activities, some of the existing resources need to be diverted, which will impact the actual growth rate of the economy. Okay, now how to reduce the damage of earthquakes. Okay, most often what happens is um, the transport and communication networks are affected mainly because earthquakes, they cause vigorous shaking, and if there is damage to roads, we may not be able to help the um, help the affected people immediately. So what is more important is disaster mitigation and preparedness. We need to reduce the damage in the first place. Like mitigation is reducing the damage, and preparedness is like in case of a disaster happening. Okay, we have to we have to prepare the community, build the capacities in order to cope up with the disasters. Okay, so what can be done is earthquake monitoring, GPS tracking. Like you can, if the plates are moving, for example, the Himalayas. Okay, they are growing a few centimeters uh, every year, and even the earth, even the Indian continental plate is moving 1 meter into Nepal every year. Okay, so if we can put a tracker here and tracker here, and having a very high accuracy satellites of GPS, we will be able to track if the energy is building up in the boundary areas of the plate tectonics, and accordingly we can create some models and predict earthquakes. Okay, right now it is not possible to predict, but this is one way in which we can say, like, if the activity has picked up recently, we can say energy is building up, and if it is not getting released in form of smaller earthquakes, one big earthquake is waiting. Right now, we also hear the news like Gadwal, Himalayas, one earthquake of very high magnitude of 8 or more on Richter scale, it will happen. These all can be tracked because by using GPS tracking. Okay, and the other is faster dissemination of information. This is through the satellite phones, especially in Tahsildar offices in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. We have the communication systems which are directly connected to the satellites, and from here we can also set up some information dissemination centers, decentralized dissemination centers, or through radio. So these all can be used for dissemination of information in vulnerable areas. And vulnerability mapping, this is like we have already seen, this is one of the vulnerability mapping, because we know which regions are more prone to earthquakes and which can cause high damage. So accordingly we can map them and make plans accordingly. And the earthquake resistant designs, some designs may not be, because if for example, if there is a weak uh, mountainous area, in that we cannot have very tall skyscrapers, because this is already stable, and if you have a skyscraper and if an earthquake happens, it is obviously bound to collapse and cause damage. So these kind of designs needs to be prevented, and construction activities should be made according to the vulnerability. Okay, and then one more is use lightweight material. This is uh, very much used in Japan. Japan is somewhere where the earthquakes happen almost every day, and people are not afraid, because most often what happens is in when they are constructing houses itself. Okay, they they construct houses with very lightweight material. Even if there is a collapse, like for example, there is a house, and if you have concrete walls and concrete ceiling, okay, if it collapses, if someone is there here, he is most likely to die. But if you use something like thermocol or some cardboard, okay, or lightweight aluminum, okay, still they are strong enough structures, but if they collapse, they don't cause much damage. Okay, so these kind of measures if we take, we can actually mitigate the damage or reduce the damage of earthquakes. Okay, So this is about earthquakes, and uh, that's it for today. Come back tomorrow for the next video. Tomorrow we'll be discussing about tsunamis. Okay, and before that, don't forget to like the video. If you have any comments, just post it in the comment box below. Okay, subscribe to our channel and also share with your friends. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.